BMC, that is MCG Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, G North Ward. G North Ward comprises of Dadar, Mahim, and Dharavi. I am basically a civil engineer. I did my schooling from Nasik, Satana, a place in Nasik district, a taluka place in Nasik district. Later on, I moved to Pune, to Garware College for my 11th, 12th, Abbasab Garware College. And later on, I did my civil engineering from Pune University, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pimpri. And later on, I moved to Delhi for my civil services preparation for UPSC preparation. I wanted to become a IAS or IPS officer, but could not make it. Unfortunately, could not make it. So I joined as a engineer, civil engineer in BMC, Mumbai, and I was working in roads department. Meanwhile, I appeared for state services and got through as assistant commissioner in BMC. I joined in 2012 in M East Ward, that is Govandi, the slum. You must be Shivajinagar Govandi, the slum of Mumbai, and that was my first posting, where that infamous Devnar fire happened. At that time, I was in charge of Govandi only. Later on, I posted in assistant commissioner as assistant commissioner A Ward, that is Fort Nariman Point, Kulaba, Mumbai, where I was working there. And then I'm transferred here in G North Ward since past 1 year, and I'm here since June 2019. And unfortunately, we are facing this pandemic, and I was here only. To start with, what Mission Dharavi is. So Mission Dharavi is basically a collective community effort. It's not any one person's success or any one organization's success, or maybe it is too early to call it as success. But we can say कि at least we have flattened the curve, or we have managed to get less number of cases per day as compared to previous months or previous days. The Mission Dharavi has many aspects like community participation, proactive administration, proactive political interference, or each and everything has its own benefit or contribution into Mission Dharavi. Let it be people of Dharavi itself, or let it be the NGOs working in Dharavi, let it be the BMC's medical team, engineering team, paramedical team, or any other people who are working in this thing, let it be private practitioners in the area. Everyone has contributed to this Mission Dharavi. When this pandemic started, this is a rich man's pandemic, or this it started, or first time it has happened that the pandemic is because of rich man. Means the pandemic came from the people who travel abroad and coming back to India, and that way it was spreading. So in March, our primary job was to quarantine the people who are coming from other countries, and we have to make sure that they shall be home quarantine, and our only job was to monitor them. So say in Dadar, Mahim, and Dharavi, there were almost 174 people who have came in March in Dadar, Mahim, and Dharavi from various places across the world, and we have to make sure that they should not be they should not spread their virus, and they should not go out. So in that way, G North Ward, including Dharavi, was quite lucky that no one from there has been infected, has infected from them. And in fact, there were some 62 people from Dharavi who came back from various countries like UAE and various Gulf countries, and they were quarantining themselves. But unfortunately, when lockdown was declared, most of the people in Dharavi were into essential services, because Dharavi is a place where you cannot afford to sit at home, because most of them are working in essential services like nurses, ward boys, or maybe the delivery boys in grocery shops, or maybe the delivery boys of Zomato, Swiggy, and other organizations. So Dharavi has never home quarantining, or maybe that concept of lockdown. So to explain what is Dharavi, Dharavi is basically 2.5 square kilometer area. The area of Dharavi is 2.5 square kilometer, and the population of Dharavi is somebody has message I cannot hear. So can you hear me, all of you? I just saw a message that I cannot hear Mr. Digawkar.
नाही सर, आवाज व्यवस्थित येतोय.
येतोय ना?
Yes sir, yes sir.
So Dharavi is 2.5 square kilometer area, and almost 8.5 to 9 lakh people stay in Dharavi. Uh, in this, so since if you see the census population of Dharavi, it's hardly 6 lakhs 53,000, and another 2 to 3 lakh people are there who are migrant labor or not unaccounted population, we can say, who came only for the purpose of job or a part-time staying where they just work and earn their living and then send back to their home. And 70% of the people in Dharavi depends on community toilet, and in one hutment of 10 by 15 feet, you will find at least 8 to 10 people sleeping inside the one single hutment. So now you can imagine the kind of density or the kind of living they must be getting, that to using the means 4 5,000 people using one community toilet of some 10 20 to 25 seats, then 8 to 10 people sleeping inside the this. Most of the hutments don't have kitchen itself. All they are depend on the outside food like street food, or maybe they were having their food outside. So this social distancing, home quarantining, this concept never existed for slums like Dharavi, or this concept are very relevant for places like Dharavi, because one person in for that matter, I'll just give you one example, that we used to distribute food packets for the people who could not earn their living or could not manage to get their food. 21,000 food packets were distributed for lunch as well as dinner from BMC itself. Along with that, many local MP, Rahul Shewale, or local MLA, Varsha Gaikwad, or local corporator have set up their own community kitchen and distributing the food packets in the area. And you can imagine a one person who is coming out at least 3 to 4 times a day just for his daily needs, like using the toilet, or maybe standing in a queue for food for lunch as well as dinner. So this social distancing was never a concept in this thing. Dharavi, though they have managed well to not to get infected through the foreign travelers, unfortunately corona entered in Dharavi on 1st April. 1st April, first case came in Dharavi, and that was a death case. Means we came to know at 2 p.m. that somebody has found positive in Sion Hospital, and as decided by, or as the as prescription, or maybe the directions given by ICMR or the state government or the head office, that we have to do contact tracing for these people. So we rushed to his house and we try to find out his contacts. You will not believe the amount of density it is given. We came to know that that person has contacted at least 72 people in the area. So to do contact tracing and test the contacts was very, it means it was a maze to be solved in such cases. So we have an idea that how badly it can be spread once it is gone inside the slum, deeply gone inside the slum. So instead of becoming reactive, it's a reactiveness that somebody come to you, says I'm positive, then we ask him that where you are there since last 14 days, then we try to find out the contact tracing, and then we again test them. That is what the standard practice is in this corona pandemic. But in this case, we decided to be proactive, like chase the virus. Is that is what the concept is, chase the virus. Means you cannot wait for virus to come to you and tell that, okay, I'm infected. Instead, you go inside the slums and find out who all are infected. So because what happened initially when we started to do contact tracing, and contact tracing, many patients were coming to Sion Hospital with the complaints of breathlessness, and they were like dying like anything initially. And then only we realized that ki infection might have spread inside, and there is no point in doing contact tracing. So what we did is we started door to door screening of the area, and where we decided to do thermal screening of each and every person, and as well as the oxygen levels. We will take oxygen levels of the senior citizens specifically, and then we'll find out the suspects with the symptoms, and then we'll isolate them. So, but initially, you all are aware that we all were a shortage of the medical staff as well as every staff due to lockdown and the kind of panic which has been created. Very few people were ready to work in places like Dharavi. So we appealed the local practitioners, general practitioners in the area who is having their clinic. So there is one association, Mahim Dharavi Medical Practitioners Association. So Dr. Utture and Dr. Pachnekar are heading that organization along with Dr. Shingnapurkar. So we just hold a meeting and ask them whether they can help me in screening the people door to door, because they have a good dialogue with the local community, they being general practitioners in the area. And to our surprise, they were so proactive and they said ki yes sir, anyway our clinics are closed and we are sitting ideal, and it's not ethical being a doctor to sit ideal at home. So better way will help you. The only condition will be please provide us the PP kit, mask, gloves, and thermal scanner, and whatever the basic requirements are there. If you are ready to provide, we will be happy to help. And 24 of them came forward. We just prepared a team of doctors and we started screening the entire Dharavi, especially high risk pockets in the area. And you'll not believe, in 7 days, we have screened 47,500 people in the area, high risk zones. And we have identified almost 600 suspects in the area, those showing some symptoms like cough, fever, and lower oxygen levels and all. And we tested all of them. And out of which 119 were found positive. So, as I said earlier, never there was a option of home quarantine or social distancing. We decided to set up an institutional quarantine in the area. So, what we did is we acquired few schools, colleges, or maybe the sports complex and marriage halls and lodges in the area, and we converted them into a quarantine centers. Though half of them were for suspects and few of them were for positive asymptomatic people. So we put a team of doctors and nurses and ward boys and in all shifts to at all quarantine centers along with the medicine supply. We also set up community kitchens at every quarantine centers, where we decided to provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner to each and every person. So the quality and the facility provided at quarantine center was so means well, like the kind of quality of food, the quality of consultation given by doctors, or quality of medicine or prescription given them to them. And most importantly, there we set up a testing centers in these areas, means like at quarantine centers. So the concept was to identify the people suspects from the area by screening, fever screening, and oxygen level survey, and just isolate them into the quarantine centers. And for the people of Dharavi, it was a pretty fair deal that with no cost, they have to just isolate themselves. They will get a three-course meal as well as free medicine, free test, and free treatment entirely till his discharge. And medical practitioners, private medical practitioners, and local representatives, especially the local MP, local MLA, and the local corporators and their karyakartas played a great role in this, for convincing people that for the benefit of your own family and benefit of Dharavi, you should isolate yourself. And the facilities provided were so worth, they find it worth to isolate themselves in these quarantine centers. So in all, the concept was to isolate institutionally rather than asking them to home quarantine, and just not to wait for people to come to you and you do contact tracing. Better way, you go inside the slums and screen people and find out the suspects. So this is basically a concept. Then going ahead, we acquired a hospital, Sai Hospital, one private hospital. This is also one thing apart from the medical practitioner, the way they were helping there. the private hospital who can earn like anything during this pandemic by giving their private services, they prefer to give their hospital to government, to PMC. So what they did is, they just hand over their keys to us and said, "Ki, sir, this is your sir, this is your hospital, this is your management, your doctors, your nurses, everything will be yours only. You have to just use it for the local public of Dharavi." So that was a big support system for us, that people who were getting critical, positive, mildly symptomatic people were sent in Sai hospital only. Later on we acquired few more hospitals like family care, like Prabhat Nursing Home, Life Care. There are many more hospitals which we converted as a COVID hospital. So the idea behind converting the hospital was to save the golden hours of patient, because when the patient becomes bad, to find out the bed and then to reach there across Mumbai in hospitals wherever bed is available, it was an immediate treatment given to people of Dharavi in that area itself. So, that was another concept. Along with that, containment measure was also important aspect in this, because see, it was very difficult to implement the lockdown in entire Dharavi, because the kind of population, kind of density, and the kind of social structure it was not possible to ask every person to sit inside the hutments, because anyway that was not going to be a social distancing or viable solution, because anyway they have to come out for using the community toilet as well as asking for their food. So we divided few identified few high risk zones and divided them into a smaller containment zone, and we put a police protection from all the sides in this for to every containment zone. And we identified few community leaders in the area, means we call them COVID yodhas or community coordinators, and we identified them by giving an identity card that you are a COVID yodha of this containment zone. And we identified at least 8 to 10 COVID yodhas in each containment zone, and their responsibility was to make sure whether all community toilets are being sanitized every day, because our aim was to sanitize each and every community toilets at least 3 to 4 times in a day. Later on was which was increased to 6 times in a day. Later then they have to organize fewer camps in the area. Later then they have to make sure whether other shops are not open other than essential services, whether the social distancing outside the grocery and medical shops been followed, or whether if there is any kind of grocery distribution or food packets distribution happening, the responsibility of community coordinators was to reach out to people and make them available in their house all these food packets and grocery packets in their area. So that worked so well that we have avoided the unnecessary crowding in the area by dividing the Dharavi into high risk containment zones and appointing the community coordinators. One more aspect, the social aspect of Dharavi, was the Dharavi as a community itself. They are so together, and this is the lesson to learn to all of us. While in societies, people were fighting with each other by looking at each other with a suspicious mind that we should not contact him, we should not meet him. Even people started. Means what we can say, forgetting their neighbors as well. They were not even allowing their neighbors. But the community of Dharavi, the way they are helping each other, the way community volunteers coming forward for food distribution and all, that was amazing thing to be learned from places like Dharavi. No one has the hesitation to help others while following the this thing. And the kind of help and the NGOs and the local representatives came forward, specifically the kind of donation, means here I should give credit to the media, the way they have covered Dharavi, and the so much attention Dharavi got across the world, right from the BBC World to any international newspaper or magazine to national newspaper media, print media, or visual media, to a local media. Everyone was talking about the Dharavi. No matter that was the reason, means Dharavi got stigmatized initially, But what we learned from that is we got so many donations for Dharavi, that everyone used to call us and say कि we want to donate something for people of Dharavi. And we never bought a single PP kit or a thermal scanner or gloves or mask. Everything was donated by various organization. I can name few of them, but they are not the only one. Like Exar Foundation was providing food packets, DMart have provided grocery packets, Zomato has given, Amit Chandra Foundation, Art of Living, then Sneha Foundation. There are many more. I'm sorry if I have not named few of them, but that doesn't mean their work is, I'm undermining their work. There are many such NGOs who are working in the area. We have means collected almost 25,000 grocery packets. Uh, One grocery packet was for means for family of five, and for 1 month grocery was there in each grocery packet, and we have distributed such to 25,000 families in these days, and that too everything was donated, nothing was we have bought it. Same thing. Same thing, the PP kits, the oxygen concentrator, because oxygen concentrator was a key in the area, and it has to be there at each quarantine center. Arsenic album, the kind of medicine which was very famous during the pandemic, the homeopathic medicine, that was also donated by many of the people. Even local representatives have arranged their own donations in the area, like local MP, local MLA, and corporators. So that what has helped it is by donating grocery kits, food packets, or PP kits and all everything. What has helped is uh, what uh, what has helped is the better communication between the community, and better communication between the government and the community. There was a bond which was formed between the community and people started trusting us. Means the kind of facility which was given at quarantine center, it was word of mouth, that people started telling others that yes, you should go there because you will get a good food. And our testing time was Ramjan month. When Ramjan started, all our Muslim brothers were worried whether we will be taken care, whether our fasting needs will be taken care if we will be quarantine there. And I just wanted to mention that we have distributed 11,000 iftar packets at 5 p.m. in the evening to our Muslim brothers during their Ramjan thing. And those who were quarantining, the community kitchen was set up by one Muslim fellow, and he has to make sure that at 3 p.m. they will get fruits, khajur, and whatever their requirements are. In breakfast also, we used to serve eggs and chicken on Wednesday and Friday and Sundays, so that they will get enough protein in their diet, and also the medicines and all. So the kind of the way it was handled by our staff or the community, it was amazing. And our main aim was 4 T's. Like 4 T's is tracing, tracking, testing, and treatment. Our focus was never on numbers, and this is the thing one should bother about, because see, the essence of the entire exercise is to save life of a person, and not to lower the number or not to hide the number. And somewhere, due to this media sensitization or due to this undue pressure, we all forget that our ultimate aim is to save the life, and not to hide the number or not to lower the number. So if we have to bother about anything, you have to bother about the infection in the area, and our responsibility is to find out the infection, no matter how much percentage it has increased in the area. So what we did is, we keep screening. So almost we have screened 6.5 to 7 lakh people till date in the area, and we test institutionally quarantine almost 14,000 people in the area, and we tested all of them. And we made sure that all should get a good treatment. And unfortunately, few of them died as well, few of them discharged in time, and few of them need to be sent to other hospitals. One more example, that we have constructed 200 bed field hospital. There was an open plot in front of Maharashtra Nature Park, which was around some 4,000 square meter plot was there, and we constructed a field hospital by just setting up an exhibition kind of hangar facility in the area, and 192 bed hospital was set up in 15 days time only, and 1st June it was inaugurated and started. Each bed in the hospital has an oxygen supply. Hospital has 4 doctors in each shift, nurses, ward boys in the area, medicine supply is there. There is BiPAP machine, there is everything, BP machine and oximeter and thermal scanner, everything is there in that hospital. Also, surprisingly, as I said, the kind of attention Dharavi was getting, we got many calls from many organizations, like Bajay Devgan, the film star himself, called and said, "Ki, how can I help in this pandemic?" Same is the case with the AmeriCares. AmeriCares is the organization of people working in Indian people working in US. They have their own organization and they have also decided to donate a few things. And I just requested them that we can initially we have planned oxygen supply for 25 beds in this 200 bed hospital, but if you support us, I can provide oxygen supply to all beds. And there is the oxygen supply to each and every bed, and which is donated by this Ajay Devgan and AmeriCares only. So I'm just to quote an example, give example. I'm just giving the how the community and support we got. Also, means our and ultimate aim was the person in Dharavi, if got affected, shall be cured from Dharavi itself, and he should not, he need not find the hospital across Mumbai, or find a bed across Mumbai to get admitted. And so as a result of that, what has happened is, we, due to this proactive screening, we started identifying people at early stage. That's why we started identifying infection at early stage. We started treating it at early stage, and we got discharge at early stage. So the early detection led to early treatment, led to early discharge, and this is how we got more discharge. As on today, there are 2,400 positive patients till date found in Dharavi, out of which more than 2,000 have been discharged till now, and only two digit, hardly 99 or 100 active cases are remaining in Dharavi, and we are getting cases in single digit. Today also, something 4 or 5 cases have been identified, and uh, that doesn't mean that we have stopped screening, or we have stopped testing in the area. This testing and screening shall be part and parcel of our daily routine now henceforth. One more aspect of Dharavi is, Dharavi has 5,000 GST registered businesses in Dharavi. Dharavi is hub of small scale industries, small scale enterprises. There are 15,000 single room factories in Dharavi, 15,000 single room, and all are garments factories, or maybe the food papad making, or maybe the pickle making factories, or vapors and chips and all making factories. Similarly, leather work factories, then plastic recycling factories, or kumbharwada for that matter, the pottery and all that kind of factories. And like Raksha Bandhan is on the corner, and there is a Rakhi making factory in the Dharavi. And all factories which were closed have started now, with the social distancing, all are starting with the export. Once export is started, you will see the massive increase in the production. Most of the product of Big Bazaar and other shops in Dadar, the all clothes been prepared in Dharavi only. It has so much big textile industry in Dharavi. So everything is on the mode of starting, and the Dharavi has started its routine. So our worry is, we have to be more vigilant now. We have to follow the social distancing, and we have to make sure that the social distancing has been followed and enough care has been taken. So we will keep screening people in Dharavi and keep testing them whosoever are the suspects in the area. So this is how the Dharavi has, and in the end, I like to thank the people of Dharavi who has supported so well. along with my all bosses, including municipal commissioner. The earlier one was Praveen Pardeshi, and now the Chahal sir, and the additional commissioners like Sanjeev Jaiswal sir, and the deputy commissioner Narendra Berde, whose time to time visits in the area, the guidance and the kind of guidance they have given and kind of intervention, Ashwini Bide ma'am. She was looking after the data analysis and all the kind of data analysis she helped us while analyzing the figures in Dharavi. That was also uh, uh, this thing. That is also one of the important thing which has helped us to get over this. That's all from my side. How we have done work in Dharavi, and last but not the least, my team, the team of doctors, team of engineers, team of the paramedical staff. Let it be contractual staff or let it be permanent staff. See, there are many unsung heroes like the laborers, sanitization laborers who were keep on sanitizing the area. That was a dangerous task and they were doing it very diligently. Similarly, dangerous task, and at the same time, similarly, there are the water supply laborers who used to operate the wall so that people should get the water supply on time to time. They few of them came positive as well. Similarly, solid waste management laborers who were collecting the garbage, they are all unsung heroes whose contribution was never noticed. Hmm? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
So,
we can hear
so
you.
this
Yes.
is the Dharavi as a success is contribution of everyone and every person, including that small labor to a municipal commissioner, everybody, and that to a Dharavi, people of Dharavi itself. Everybody has contributed for this thing. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kiran Righavkar. It was a wonderful talk, and it is actually a talk which brings us to the basics in the sense that whenever there is a problem, uh, if all the people from different communities they come together, then the problem can be solved in a very good way. You've been, of course, the master and the leader of the entire show. However, a lot of as I've gone through the talk, I've understood that the hospitals, the basic people who were living there, the doctors, the local political scenario there, everybody has helped this to address this particular problem and to solve it. Thanks a lot for a very useful talk. Chase the virus, I think, is the main
Yes,
tagline of the talk.
proactiveness is important than the reactiveness.
Yes. Proactive, and the four T's is something that I think all
Yes.
of us could remember, that how those can be used to combat any particular problem. Mr. Kiran, we also have with us Mr. Prashant Girbane, who is the director of PIC, and Professor Amitav Malik. So they may have some comments to share with us, and then I think we can open it to the uh, public at large if they have any questions. So, Professor Malik, we can start from you.
Let us go through the question answer first, and I'll conclude. Prashant,
Okay.
in
Okay,
case Prashant wants to say something, yeah.
No, I'll also do the same thing. I think it feels so positive after listening to Mr. Digavkar that I would just want to stay there and rather go through the Q&A. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Yeah, okay. So the question and answers, I'm not sure as to how we are going to take it.
What we could do, Sangeeta, is we have some questions on the chat window. Like Mugdha has asked a question. We could pick up, you'd read the question, and Digavkar Saab could answer that, and that's how we could proceed.
Okay, so this is interesting. I'm not able to.
Sorry, don't worry then. Let me do this for you.
Yeah.
Already out there. There is a request to all of you participants. Please feel free to put your question in the chat window. One of us, I or Sangeeta, would read the question, and then Mr. Digavkar would answer that. To begin, take the question from Dr. Mugdha Lele. I think part of this is answered, but still we'll ask you, how has the government of Maharashtra, especially the political support, has been instrumental in this effort at Dharavi?
See, as I mentioned earlier, when things are successful, we always feel that it is all because of me or because of one person which has happened. But there are many hidden factors in every thing, the time to time guidance given by the state government and the kind of guidance for contact tracing, or maybe like for that matter, they have set up one helpline, and they have supported with state government has supported with they had a talk with many MNCs like Hindustan Liver, or maybe the Dettol, Lifebuoy, or many people who all were making sure that if we are getting enough donations in the area, they are making sure that we are getting enough funds in the area, and many more guidance. In fact, many times a team from central government also visited the area, the ICMR team, and right from Mr. Love Agarwal sir, who is head or joint secretary health, he himself has many times visited Dharavi itself and make sure that things are in place, and the institutional quarantine been followed, and how it was their idea only to improve the institutional quarantine facilities and increase the number of institutional quarantine. So there are many more suggestions which were coming from time to time, and same is with the political bosses. As I mentioned in my talks, that the local representative had played a key role in everything by for convincing people to institutionally quarantine themselves. See, in one thing we have to accept that in slums like Dharavi, there are many illegal things which are happening. Means most of the factories which are running are not authorized. They don't have fire NOCs, or maybe most of them have G+1, G+2 structure, which is not authentic, or we cannot this thing. So in such scenario, they are not that conversant with MCGM or government authorities to talk with, because they always worried that we will ask them the question, how can you build such kind
Yeah.
of houses. So are not that comfortable with government machinery as they are comfortable with their political bosses or the political representatives, and similarly the NGOs in the area, and similarly the general practitioners in the area. So we took help of them to convince people to quarantining themselves to this thing, because they have their insecurity in their mind. Because I remember few people were asking me, सर अगर हमारी फैमिली क्वारंटाइन हो गई तो सर मेरे घर का क्या रहेगा, घर तो रहेगा ना सर, घर टूट तो नहीं जाएगा ना, मतलब उसको कोई लेके तो नहीं जाएगा ना. मींस दीज आर द वेरी innocent questions which our answers will be obviously, यार ये पैंडेमिक में कौन घर तोड़ेगा तुम्हारा. but for him he has such a ये तो these are the things which are handled by local representatives, which unknowingly or knowingly many times we don't even give credit to them, but these are the political interference or political help we got.
Thank you so much. I think good to know, and also it's great to see you being very generous in sharing the credit with almost everybody that you could. Great to see that. The next one, and I'm paraphrasing the question a bit. This is from Ms. Neha Mehrotra. The question is, if now that you address the Dharavi issue, and as you mentioned, some of these micro and small industries there have restarted the activity, right? Which create the possibility of another wave if social distancing is not maintained, etc. So how are you kind of ensuring that this doesn't happen again? You did address
Yes,
question, but keen to know more.
Yes, exactly. See, what we have to think is this is not end of it, which I believe that this is not something we were constructing a dam or a road which is completed now and now vehicles are ready to ply. This is the continuous process where we have to work on two aspects in this. One is behavioral change in the community, that we have to develop these behavioral habits, and we have good opportunity to take mileage of this pandemic, that the kind of attention Dharavi and kind of success Dharavi got, the Dharavikar must be feeling proud, and just we have to make this as a routine habit or behavioral changes we should do. And we desperately need few positive NGOs who shall work on ground on this behavioral changes in the area. And second is to have a good infrastructure. That's what I'm saying. To increasing number is never bad, or to identify infection is never bad. The bad is when the person who found positive is not getting bad or not getting treated is bad. And that kind of stigma we should remove. That key, if we are able to find 100 people in a day, that is not something your inefficiency. That is your efficiency, that you will able to find out the infection. But your efficiency will be tested when you will able to treat all these 100 people, and we able to discharge them. That will be your efficiency. That this is what went wrong, which I believe that key, the increasing number has been so much stigmatized among the administrators, among the officers, or among the area, that it has been always put pressure on the in charge, that the numbers are increasing means something you are doing wrong. In fact, he is finding the number, and he should be given credit to finding the numbers in that area. Now, if you have to sack him or if you have to do something to him, you have to think how he is treating their patients, of the kind of facility he is giving in the area, like institutional quarantine, or let it be the other treatment he is giving. So we have to more focus on treatment than the numbers, which I believe.
No, thank you so much. There are one or two more quick ones I'll take, and then I'll hand it over to for Dr. Kale and Professor Malik. Some of these questions, I'm not actually asking the question, but I'm just making a comment. There are 2-3 questions, and all of them relate to this one thing. How can this be replicated in other places? Or why can't it be replicated in other places? Or why hasn't it been replicated in other places? But I think I'll spare you from some of those questions, because can it be replicated? You abundantly mentioned it can be. Should it be replicated? Of course, each of the administrations in different parts of the country or the state need to pick up these learnings and implement, because they would be under the administration of those officers and not you directly, right? So that's how it is. But if you have any comment on this, there are 3 of those questions, which is broadly about why is it not done other places? Why can't it be done? Can it be done? Same vibe to the questions.
See, what we believe is, or what I personally believe is, if you able to find out more people as by proactive screening and all, you should have standby health infrastructure to deal with that. Means you can find 1,000 people in a day. That is not a big deal. If you test 20,000 people in Pune every day, you will find 1,000 people positive. Whether you have health infrastructure in place for this 1,000 positive, because this disease is associated with the panic as well, because it's not only a disease that if you come positive, it creates a panic among you. Even if you are not symptomatic, or you don't showing any symptoms, you just rush for the bed. If you have enough money, you want to be on a bed of the best hospital in the city. But in that during that thing, whether you able your health infrastructure supports that, that is much more important. So we definitely should follow, but parallelly you have to create an alternate health infrastructure for that, so that the aggressive testing and the aggressive screening will able to cope up with the health infrastructure. That is much more important along with the proactive screening.
Sure. Thank you so much. Before I hand it over, as an individual, as one of the participants, I must say this is very, very encouraging and very motivating to hear this. There are many takeaways, but very, very important to hear you reiterate again and again about the importance of contextualized involvement of the community. Very interesting to hear about not stigmatizing things, and very, very interesting to and important to hear about preparedness of the healthcare infrastructure to deal with it. I'm sure there are more, but why don't I hand it over to Dr. Kale and Professor Malik now? Dr. Kale.
Thank you, Mr. Prashant. And actually, I would like to simply reiterate what he has said. There are a lot of takeaways from this particular talk. We are extremely thankful to you for sharing so many good events that have taken place in these worst times of pandemic. One thing I would just definitely like to say, that mindset, the point that you mentioned about the mindset is very, very important. I really appreciate that particular point, because most of the times when you hear the news, you always think about, and people keep on telling the numbers. But the numbers are going to be there. They've done that particular job, but treating them, and of course treating the mental part of the patient is also very important. Keeping them healthy mentally also. So thanks a lot, and I now hand it over to Professor Malik for the next part of this particular session. Professor Malik.
Yeah, thank you, Digakar. That was wonderful. One question, if I may, or one comment, if I may make. What was the role of masks, strict wearing of masks in that whole thing? And while we are doing relatively well on the mask issue, there are many other countries like USA, for instance, where wearing a mask or not wearing a mask has become a controversial. That's one. And secondly, now that there is a feel that the virus is also airborne, so to a longer distance than just 2 meters, what are the implications and what would you suggest on that? If you can briefly dwell on this, then it will be my pleasure at the end to propose a vote of thanks.
This mask is really very interesting question, and though I'm not a doctor, but with my experience of 2-3 months, I really like to answer this question, because I myself got hit means verbally hit by many people for not wearing mask sometimes. I'll just mention you the entire process. I'll explain you. I'm sorry, you are all educated doctors and all, and I am not there to educate you for this, but what is this pandemic is about, or the corona is about? The corona, the virus enters in your body through nose, means you got running nose, or maybe the kind of symptoms are running nose, means the corona has attacked you. Then second stage of corona, the virus is, it goes to your throat and you got throat infection or kind of thing, and then it goes to your lungs, and then it damages your lungs. So this is the 3 stage, and meanwhile your body immunity is fighting with that virus, and there is a war going between the virus and your body immunity for that 14 days or whatever. And now if you are immune enough, that then if you have a strong immunity, you can run away the virus from your nose only, or you can run away. If you're less immune, you can run away that virus from your throat. And if you're more less immune, then what you will do, you the virus enters into chest and you keep fighting with that. And how your immunity is increases is with the help of oxygen. That is the basic which we all learn in our 10th standard, that with the help of oxygen we create a cell, and we create immunity, and we fight with various diseases. This is what the routine procedure is. Now what is important in this is, many people talks about the outside things like gloves, mask, and whatever sanitization are, but very few people talk about what is inside you. And what really matters in this pandemic is how internally fit you are, and how you fit your immune system is. And for the immune system to have stronger immune system, you have to breathe as much as oxygen as possible, so that you will able to create more body cells or antibodies in your body. And if you put a mask on your this thing, so the amount of air, there is almost 16 to 20% air oxygen in the air. And if you put a mask, the percentage of oxygen further reduces, and you further feel breathlessness. So what I did is, I used to do is, during these 2-3 months, I used to walk for at least 1 to 2 hours, at least 10 kilometers. I used to walk, and then I used to tell myself that if I can walk for an hour, and then nothing has been. My immune system is enough to fight with the pandemic, and this is what positivity I used to keep. But if you wear a mask and try to run, or try to this, you cannot run, because you need more oxygen. Because you are running and you need more oxygen, so that you need to create more cells inside, and more antibodies. So I never used to wear a mask while running. And then people used to shout, hey, what you're doing, or you're an officer, and you yourself, you working in Dharavi, and you yourself is not wearing a mask. And then I used to say, listen, mask has to be used when you are interacting with somebody, that too closer interaction, so that you should avoid the infection. And for that, at least one of them should be positive for getting infected. But while running, how can you wear a mask and run? There is, what is the use of that run? In fact, somebody will collapse on ground due to lack of oxygen, because every day we are measuring oxygen of people, oxygen level of people in their body, SpO2, and deciding, and oxygen is increased by running and inhaling. So to conclude, what I believe is you should wear a mask, but while interacting with people, or maybe when there is a central AC running and you are holding a meeting, definitely you should wear a mask. And but while running, while you're alone in the room, or while you're doing exercises, no need to wear a mask. While doing yoga and all, no mask is required. Mask is required while you are interacting with somebody, that too assuming that everyone you are meeting is positive. You have to assume that and you have to wear. Or maybe you are holding a meeting somewhere in a centralized AC room, then only you should wear a mask. Otherwise, no need to wear a mask. That is my personal experience in last 3-4 months.
Thank you very much. I think this was very interesting because you have the hands-on experience, and we want to know. I would like to inform you that in the audience there were more than 60 people, and many of them seniors, many of them very different field of life, very spectrum.
I'll be happy if they want to ask something. I'll be happy to answer, because today I have specially reserved time for this particular.
Very nice of you. I think the questions are very typical, and our director Prashant Girwane, therefore, that's why he put the questions together to get the sense of what is the curiosity. I only added this little bit about the mask because there is a lot of controversy about mask and no mask. So very good to hear from you, direct hands-on experience. So let me take this opportunity to extend a warm thank you for you. It was nice of you that in spite of your very busy schedule, you were able to come and spend an hour with us. I think there are many, what shall I say, the hints and tips that we have taken from you, all of us 60 odd people who have been listening to. The one message, if I may venture into, one message is many people are getting more scared than it is necessary. And it is a fear that harms more than anything else. So in that sense, we organize this talk from you so that people understand that there is nothing to be deadly be afraid of. One has to deal with it in a very positive manner. And that is the message I would like all of us to carry with us. So thank you, Mr. Divakar. Wonderful spending time listening to you. Wish you all the best and many more successes in life.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here and giving this opportunity to interact with everyone. And I'll be happy to be in touch with you all. Thank you for calling and honoring me here and allow me to share my experiences with you all. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. In fact, today we have kept it open as suggested by Prashant, and we got a very good response. So typically PIC Adda used to be only for members, but we have made an exception because we are online, and it doesn't. We will welcome as many people to benefit from you as possible. So hopefully this is the pattern of Adda that we may follow for many months to come. Thank you, Sangeeta, for doing all the work, and back to you.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure, sir, of course. Yeah. Okay. Thank you then. Thanks a lot.
Shall I do the meeting now?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, sir. Acha. Prashant, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. Dear video.
Bye, Mr. Young Kesare.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.